If you are a reflector, you are the rarest of the human design types. Only about 1% of the population are reflectors, and reflectors serves as karmic mirrors for how well we are evolving. They reflect the state of well-being of the community that they are in, so to speak. Reflectors are like these shiny unicorns in human design because, as you will see on your own body graph, you, like the rest of the reflectors out there, have no defined centers or defined channels, meaning you don't have any of the shapes or the channels between two shapes in your chart colored in, which majority of the population do. You only have gates activated or colored in within the centers in your chart. This means that you can be quite sensitive to your environment and be highly tuned into what is going on around you. This can oftentimes be quite the challenge for the reflectors in their lives, that they have this much openness in their chart. The reason why they have this is because they are built to sense the energy from other people, plus also take in other people's energy and amplify it within themselves. This means that reflectors can be very powerful and intense people because of taking all this energy in and amplifying it. In terms of stress, anxiety, and potentially even burnout, it's important to mention here that we in human design differentiate between what's called non-sacral and sacral beings when we talk about the different types. The reflector, manifestor, and projector types specifically have so-called open sacral centers and are thus non-sacral beings. Reflectors, as I just mentioned, don't have any centers consistently activated, but the sacral center is important to mention here because it means that none of these three types have consistent access to work and life force energy themselves and can only really lend this energy when they are around other types that do. This concludes that they are not really here to work and can have a hard time feeling into when enough is enough, when they have done or is about to do too much. So naturally, they need more rest than the sacral types, the so-called generator and manifesting generator types, which have access to consistent work and life force energy because their sacral center is always turned on and activated. The field of energy that reflectors have around their bodies, the so-called aura, is represented by the little mirror down here in the right corner because it's both resistant, sampling, and reflecting, meaning that a healthy reflector is not really to absorb the energy of the collective around them. They are more to observe it, experiencing it, and then reflecting it back to the community, but not taking it into their being, into who they are. The life strategy of a reflector is to wait a lunar cycle. So to wait approximately 29 days before the moon has gone through a full lunar cycle before they make any major decisions in their lives. Now, why is that? Now it becomes important with the, let's call it, lack of activated centers and channels I mentioned before. Because when the moon has gone a full lunar cycle, we have also been through all of the 64 gates found within the centers in the body graph. And that's the amount of time a reflector, if living optimally in alignment with who they are built to be here on Earth, are to take before making any major decisions in their lives, such as partnerships, moving, work or career, and so on. So bigger and more important decisions in their lives, really. Not if they are to go down grocery shopping when the fridge is running empty. Throughout the cycle of the moon, the reflector will experience days where they will feel and have specific energies activated within their energetic design. One day they might have access to sacral energy, another day they might not. Later in their cycle, they might have the moon complete a full channel between two centers that make certain abilities available to them. Following the moon rhythm makes their cycle predictable, but it also means that it takes a long time in decision making for these people because they need to go through all their gates doing this cycle and feel everything within them before they can make a good and sound decision on something for themselves. I always get reminded of Lord of the Rings, the scene where the trees have to make a decision if they are willing to go to war or not. And as I remember from the movie, it takes them hours to just say hi or say hello to each other before they go on to continue with the conversation. And that's a little bit the same sort of feeling I get when I have conversation with a reflector. Not that they speak slowly, but the way that they are to do things in their lives is very slow and very deliberate. The emotional theme of a reflector is disappointment, and this is the feeling they feel in their body when they are out of alignment with their energy. They can easily end up feeling disappointed if they haven't followed their life strategy to wait a lunar cycle before making bigger decisions in their lives. The disappointment usually comes from not having taken enough time and or being forced to make a decision before they were ready and then being disappointed about the decision afterwards if it didn't turn out nicely for them. On the other hand, they also have something which is called a signature theme, and for the reflector, that is surprise. The feeling of surprise is usually experienced when they have followed their strategy to wait a lunar cycle and the outcome ended up positively in their favor, because it can be really hard in the world we live in today to make decisions in the way they are built to do it. The little hot sale sign down here in the middle is to prove a point in terms of the reflector's challenges around making decisions. Try and think of a reflector who might be in need of a car, walking past a car sales place. And the sales guy tells the reflector that just this week you can have this car for $14.99. And the reflector goes, yeah, well, if this is a bigger ticket item for the reflector, they would have to wait a lunar cycle to make that decision. But if the hot sale or the car is only for sale in the next week or two, then they naturally have to turn down the car sales guy, even though they might actually need a car for it to be the right car for them.